Let us begin with a truth so few are willing to accept. The difference between the man who rises and the man who rots is not the economy, not luck, not the hand they were dealt. It is how they govern themselves, not once in a while, not in public, but every single day, in the solitude of their own mind. All wealth begins in the invisible. That is the secret, and that is the curse. Because what is invisible is easy to ignore, easy to deny, and easiest of all to betray when no one is watching. But the man who watches himself becomes a master, and the master in time becomes a king. All the empires of man have crumbled, but the laws of discipline, detachment, and inner clarity have remained unchanged, written not on paper, but on the mind of every individual who ever ruled not others, but himself. You want to be rich? Then you must learn this first, and learn it well. No man ever became wealthy without first conquering the battlefield between his ears. The riches of gold are born in the fire of self-control. The fortune of peace is carved in the stone of restraint. And the kingdom of success is ruled by the hand that does not tremble when provoked. If you let your emotions govern your day, then your life belongs to them. But if you govern your emotions, then your future belongs to you. Understand this now, not later, not tomorrow, because the clock ticks for no one. There is no luck in the mind of a man who wakes up with chaos in his soul. There is no fortune in the heart of one who still needs approval to act. There is no freedom in the hands of someone who reacts to everything and chooses nothing. What makes ordinary men rich is not what they do once, but what they do daily. The habits that appear mundane are the rituals that build empires. If you seek riches, look not at the actions of the wealthy. Look at the thoughts they permit, the battles they fight in silence, and the decisions they make when no one sees. Here, then, is the first law, the first habit, the first blade in the arsenal of personal wealth. Master the art of emotional detachment. What does this mean? It means you no longer move because others push. You no longer flinch at insult. You no longer chase praise like a dog hunts scraps. You become unmoved, still, calm, not cold but clear, not indifferent but disciplined. Detachment is not denial, it is not weakness. It is the highest strength. For what man can build anything lasting if every gust of wind topples his soul? Consider the tree that grows tallest in the forest. It bends, but it does not break. The storms come, the seasons change, the winds howl, and yet it stands. Not because it fights every gust, but because its roots are deep. Emotional detachment is those roots. It means you respond with intention, not impulse. You delay your reaction until thought catches up to feeling. You train yourself to be still inside, even as the world thrashes about. If someone insults you, it is noise. If someone praises you, it is wind. Do not anchor your self-worth to either. Anchor it to your ability to choose your response. Because he who responds rules. He who reacts obeys. Every fortune lost was first lost in a moment of emotional blindness. Every fortune kept was guarded by the gatekeeper of detachment. The world will provoke you, that is its job. Your job is to remain the master of your temple. And make no mistake, mastery begins with self-denial. Do you want to speak out when criticized? Hold your tongue. Do you want to retaliate when offended? Restrain your hand. Do you want to indulge when the impulse calls? Delay gratification. This, and only this, builds the strength necessary to rise above the mediocrity of men who are ruled by their nerves. Let me tell you something most men will never understand. Riches flee from the emotionally chaotic. They cannot trust them. The market does not reward panic. Opportunity does not present herself to the impulsive. And fortune never walks into the house of the undisciplined. Detachment is not a lack of passion. It is the purity of it. It is to place feeling after intention, not before it. It is to become deliberate, sovereign, immune to manipulation. For the man who cannot be seduced by flattery, nor controlled by shame, nor provoked by threat, he is the rarest of men, and in time, the richest. So, how do you train this habit daily? Every morning, before the world reaches for you, reach inward. Sit, breathe, observe your thoughts without obeying them. Watch your emotions without becoming them. Say to yourself, I am not my anger. I am not my fear. I am not my need for validation. I am the one who chooses whether to feed them. Then rise. And begin the day with intent, not impulse. Do not open your phone. Do not check the news. Do not let the external world own your first breath. Let it be yours. Because if you do not control your morning, you do not control your mind. And if you do not control your mind, you will be owned by the next voice louder than your own. Now, let us proceed to the second daily habit, one no less vital, no less brutal, and no less life-defining than the first. Build unbreakable mental discipline. You see, discipline is not punishment. It is not self-cruelty. It is not austerity for its own sake. No, it is the quiet proof that you respect your future more than your impulses. It is the evidence that your dreams mean more to you than your comfort. Mental discipline is the builder of all structure. Without it, your thoughts wander, your time leaks, your will dissolves, and your potential dies not with a bang, but with a long, silent, apathetic sigh. The undisciplined man wants results. The disciplined man wants rituals, and so he wins not once but repeatedly. Discipline means you wake up when you say you will, not when you feel like it. Discipline means you keep your word to yourself, not just to others. Discipline means your actions are not dictated by mood, by weather, by drama, or by doubt, but by decision, made once and followed through regardless of feeling. If detachment is the root, then discipline is the spine. And let me say something directly to you now, not as a lecturer, but as a challenger. If you cannot do what you promised yourself when you no longer feel like it, then you are not free. You are still a slave to comfort. Every successful man has this one trait in common. He does what needs to be done, especially when it is inconvenient. He obeys the voice of the higher self, not the cry of the inner child. He defers pleasure. He trains his appetite. He delays indulgence, because he knows whatever you do not master will master you. What is procrastination but the refusal to confront your own weakness? What is laziness but fear dressed in comfort's clothing? What is inconsistency but the slow suicide of a mind that never fully commits? You build discipline the same way you build muscle, by doing it when it's hard, not just once, but daily. Repetition is your sword. Repetition is your savior. Repetition is your inheritance. If you repeat weakness, you inherit failure. If you repeat strength, you inherit power. Start with one non-negotiable habit. Wake up early. Make your bed. Write your goals. Go for a walk. Fast. Speak nothing but the truth for 24 hours. Start anywhere, but do not betray it. Every day you follow through. You harden the steel of your will. Every day you quit, you corrode it. And don't you dare tell yourself it's just one day. No one day is destiny. One day is a seed, and seeds multiply. Pause, reflect, feel your pulse. This is your life we're talking about. Not a fantasy, not a YouTube dream, not a future. You'll start tomorrow. Now, this breath, this choice, this moment. You've been given this hour to rise. Will you? Now we enter the third law, a law so fundamental, so absolute in its power, that every success and every failure can be traced to its application or neglect. The principle of thought first. Thought is the seed, and the man is the soil. What you allow to grow inside your mind becomes the harvest of your life. Let no man deceive himself. Wealth begins not in effort, not in movement, not in strategy, but in conscious, directed, purposeful thought. Every act, every word, every pattern of behavior is first a child of the mind. If your thoughts are undisciplined, your actions will be erratic. If your thoughts are vague, your results will be blurred. If your thoughts are fearful, your life will shrink to fit the prison you have imagined. This is not poetry. This is cause and effect, and those who do not understand it will forever be pawns of those who do. You must therefore make your thoughts work for you, not against you. You must command them as a general commands his army, as a builder commands his materials, as a king commands his court. If your thoughts rule you, you are not yet a man of wealth, you are a man of drift. This principle begins in silence. Yes, silence. Each day you must enter the chamber of the mind and cleanse it before you act. You must examine each thought the way a jeweler examines diamonds, hold it to the light, check for clarity, detect flaws, test its hardness, and discard those unworthy of your crown. Ask yourself each morning, is this thought mine, or was it planted in me by fear, by family, by failure, by society? Is this belief true or simply repeated until I mistook it for wisdom? Is this worry useful or does it weaken my power of action? The weak man entertains his thoughts. The strong man interrogates them. This is why the rich become richer, not merely because they invest their money, but because they first invest their mindset. Their thoughts do not contradict their goals. Their inner dialogue is not a courtroom of doubt, but a command center of precision. Thought first, before action, before speech, before decision. Thought is the captain of your ship, and if you let your ship sail without a captain, you will crash upon rocks and wonder why God cursed you. Let me tell you a truth you may not want to hear. Your results are not the fault of fate. They are not the doing of the world. They are the fruit of the thoughts you permitted, nourished, and obeyed. The mind is the master builder. The subconscious mind is its servant. Whatever thoughts you repeat with conviction, the subconscious takes as orders and begins constructing your reality in obedience to them. Repeat failure in your imagination, and your subconscious will bring it forth with mechanical precision. Repeat power, command, mastery, peace, and your subconscious will find the means, the paths, the alliances, and the clarity to bring it to pass. That is why your mental diet matters more than your physical one. You do not become rich by dreaming. You become rich by training your thoughts to obey your purpose. Now, let me ask you something so direct it may disturb your comfort. When you wake up, what do you feed your mind? What is the first impression you allow in? Is it intention or distraction? Is it a declaration of purpose or a flood of noise? The great minds of history all shared this trait. They guarded their first hour like kings guard their treasures. They knew what begins your day, builds your character. What you dwell on, you dwell in. What you imagine, you become. So train it daily, not occasionally, but as ritual. Each morning, repeat aloud the thoughts that serve your destiny. I command my emotions. I create wealth with purpose and clarity. I am the master of my response, the ruler of my time, the architect of my mind. I delay gratification. I choose wisely. I speak only when useful. Do not scoff at this. The man who mocks auto-suggestion is the man who kneels to his own impulses. Repetition is the language of the subconscious. It does not learn by logic. It learns by consistency. Feed it daily, and you will build thought pathways that lead directly to discipline, detachment, and direction. Now you have the three: detachment, discipline, directed thought. But let us be clear, having them in theory means nothing. The rich do not theorize. They practice, they apply, they act in alignment, not in mood. They repeat, not when it's exciting, but when it's exhausting. They do not confuse movement with progress, nor approval with value. They walk the lonely path, not because they enjoy the silence, but because in the silence they find their signal. And let me remind you of something very few will tell you. To become rich, you must first become immune to public opinion, not indifferent immune. The world does not like those who separate themselves from the herd. It will call your detachment arrogance. It will label your discipline obsession. It will mock your thought training as delusion. But what is ridicule from the mediocre compared to mastery of the self? If you need applause to persist, then you are still a slave. If you can move without being seen, act without being praised, build without being understood, then, and only then, are you free to grow unstoppable. Because true wealth is not money. It is self-command. And money, like a shadow, follows those who walk with authority. Now listen carefully. The ordinary man waits for motivation. The rich man creates momentum. The ordinary man needs proof. The rich man moves in faith, backed by reason. The ordinary man thinks success is rare. The rich man knows it is built in plain sight, in plain habits, repeated with uncommon consistency. There is no secret except this. Most people are too undisciplined to repeat the right things long enough to receive the reward. Let that sentence burn into you. There is no great mystery, only great resistance. Break that resistance, and life will open to you like a vault that was always yours to unlock. Now, you may be wondering, but what if I've failed before? What if I've tried and stopped? What if I am not consistent enough? Then listen to me now and let this enter your bloodstream like fire. Failure is not your enemy. Inconsistency is. Failure refines. Inconsistency erodes. you can recover from failure. But you must be reborn from inconsistency. You must declare today, not casually, but solemnly, that you will be the one in 10,000 who repeats what is good, who disciplines what is weak, who detaches from what is false. Your destiny is not waiting. It is waiting on you. Rise tomorrow with these 3 habits, not as gimmicks, not as hacks, but as weapons. Emotional detachment, so that no one can control your inner world. Mental discipline, so that no impulse can destroy your path. Directed thought, so that no distraction can obscure your aim. If you wield them daily, your life will shift. Not instantly, but inevitably. Not with noise, but with power. Not for others, but for yourself. And that is the beginning of wealth. You may have trained your emotions. You may have built your discipline. You may have structured your thoughts like steel. But until you become the kind of person who does not betray himself, the wealth you build can still be lost. Let me tell you something that will offend the unprepared but awaken the ready. Success is not an achievement, it is a character. You are not wealthy when you own riches. You are wealthy when you can no longer be anything but a creator of them. When the principles are etched so deeply into your being that to act otherwise would be to violate the very laws that govern your nature. That is the final habit, not something you do, but something you become. Every man is ruled by an identity. Either it was chosen or it was inherited. Either it was built or it was absorbed. If you believe you are weak, every strength will be fleeting. If you believe you are unworthy, every gain will sabotage itself. If you believe you are destined to fail, every success will feel like a lie and you will unconsciously destroy it. So ask yourself, what identity do you serve? Do you rise as a disciplined man or merely a man who tries discipline? Do you act from peace or do you chase it while living in chaos? Do you think like the wealthy or do you imitate their actions while thinking like the poor? Let me remind you, the world does not reward imitation. It rewards internalization. You cannot fake your way to peace. You cannot perform your way to power. You must become. The poor man says, I will try. You. The rich man says, this is who I am. The poor man says, I hope it works. The rich man says, it must. I've removed all other options. Do you see the difference? It is not in knowledge. It is not in opportunity. It is not in intelligence. It is in certainty. Certainty forged from inner consistency. Certainty born from repeating the right acts, the right habits, the right principles until your very bones echo with them. This is why legacy matters. You see, wealth that dies with you is not true wealth. True wealth multiplies even when you're gone, not just in money, but in principle, in rhythm, in reputation, in story. Who will say of you, that man lived with power, not because he controlled others, but because he controlled himself? Who will point to your life and say, he rose because he mastered his inner world when others were still slaves to theirs? That is the mark of the rich, not flashy, not loud, but enduring. Their silence speaks louder than the noise of 10,000 men. Their habits become the habits of nations. Their identity shapes the destiny of families. And it all began in one quiet moment when they decided to take full responsibility for their mind. Not partial, full. No more blaming. No more reacting. No more indulging. No more delay. They rose, and they never fell back to the level of excuses. Let me speak to you, man to man, mind to mind, soul to soul. You were not born to drift. You were not born to be ruled. You were not born to spend your years chasing praise, avoiding pain, indulging impulses, and calling that freedom. You were born to command, to rule your emotions like a wise king, to train your discipline like a warrior sharpens his blade, to think like a master builder, constructing the future brick by brick, vision by vision, day by day. And you were born to protect that mindset like a fortress, not for vanity, but for legacy. Because the world does not need more entertainers. It does not need more followers. It does not need more victims. It needs men of power, quiet power, disciplined power, thoughtful power, and above all, inner power, the kind that cannot be bought, stolen, or praised into existence. Do not wait another morning to start. Do not wait until you feel ready. You won't. Start now. Declare yourself rich not in dollars, but in decision. Say to yourself, I am no longer a servant to emotion. I use it, but it does not use me. I no longer delay discipline. It is the rhythm of my days. I no longer let thoughts run wild. I choose them with precision and repeat them with conviction. I am the architect of my reality. I am the ruler of my inner world. I am already wealthy because I no longer betray the laws that build wealth. And from this moment forward, everything changes. You rise earlier. You move with intent. You speak only when it serves. You act with consistency, not mood. You repeat your rituals, not for applause, but for alignment. You endure discomfort without complaint. You detach from chaos and choose stillness. You stop needing others to believe in you because you believe in your own habits. And that, my friend, is how ordinary men become rich. Not all at once, not by chance, but by building themselves until wealth becomes the natural consequence of who they are. So go, build, repeat, discipline your days. And let the world call you lucky when your fortune arrives, but you will know you earned it. Now let me speak to you about something that few men understand: the law of momentum. Most people think greatness comes from one mighty act, one bold leap, one divine moment of inspiration. But this is the fantasy of the undisciplined. The truth is simpler and far more powerful. Momentum is the invisible wealth that precedes the visible. You do not see the success at first, but it begins accumulating, quietly, day after day. Small acts repeated without fail, thoughts recited before doubt creeps in, routines guarded like treasure maps. And while the world watches nothing happening, everything is happening. A man with momentum does not stop to explain himself. He does not need validation. He moves because his mind is aligned. His spirit is undistracted. His emotions are quiet servants, not screaming kings. You want to know why the wealthy seem unstoppable? It is not because they're smarter. It is because they have momentum. They do not spend their willpower every day deciding what to do. They already decided once, and they honor that decision daily. They do not wrestle with motivation. They move because motion itself creates energy. And when the world tries to pull them off course, it cannot. Not because they're resistant, but because they're already moving too fast. You must build this. It is your duty. Momentum is not a gift, it is a byproduct. You earn it by obeying your rituals long enough for reality to bend around your consistency. And here is the secret. The first 20 days are agony. The mind resists, the emotions rebel, the body complains. You will want to stop. You will want to renegotiate with your old self. Don't. That is the old you dying. Let it. You will never become rich if you mourn your old habits. You will never be free if you pity the version of yourself that lived in fear, in comfort, in compromise. You must choose to bury him, without ceremony, without tears. And when you rise as the successor to your past. And then, only then, the momentum begins. You wake up with purpose, not because it's easy, but because it's normal. You say no to distraction, not because it's heroic, but because it's obvious. You speak with clarity, move with decisiveness, and no longer seek permission because your character no longer permits you to hesitate. You have become, through repetition and refusal to quit, something rare, a man who keeps his promises to himself. This is more valuable than gold, because the world will give gold to a man who cannot be swayed, not by emotion, not by failure, not by the noise of the crowd. And now let us go deeper still into the fortress of inner peace. Yes, peace. Not the peace of idleness, but the peace of power. Most men think peace is the absence of struggle. They think it's silence, retreat, escape. But I tell you this, true peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of clarity. When you know who you are, when you are no longer at war with your own mind, when your habits serve your mission, and your mission governs your hours, that is peace. It is not passive, it is active. It is the stillness of the eye of a storm where all the power gathers, undisturbed. The rich live in this state. Their outside world may rage, shift, collapse, but inside they are calm. Not because they don't feel pressure, but because they trained their mind to respond with composure. And you can do the same. Every morning, remind yourself, I am not here to react. I am here to command. And when emotions rise, you pause. When doubt knocks, you do not open the door. When temptation calls, you remain still and you let your higher nature answer. This is the true discipline, not to suppress feeling, but to select which feeling rules the hour. And in that mastery, wealth flows, because people follow clarity, they trust composure, they invest in confidence. And the universe, yes, the very nature of reality, bends itself to the man who has decided who he is and acts in accordance with that identity. So let me now give you a final challenge. For the next 30 days, wake at the hour you promised yourself. Sit in silence for 10 minutes. Observe your mind without judgment. Speak your purpose aloud. Write your priorities for the day, not based on urgency, but based on alignment with your vision. Refuse to check your phone for the first hour. That is your hour of sovereignty. No one enters. Complete one act of difficulty, one thing you don't feel like doing, and do it well, without complaint. Review your thoughts at night. Ask, did I lead my day or follow it? Repeat this, without fail, without excuse. Watch your identity change. Watch your perception sharpen. Watch your power return, not from others, but from within. And when you feel like quitting, remember, every act of weakness is a prayer to stay small. But every act of discipline is a declaration. I am building a fortress. I am building wealth. I am building me. Now go. Go build. Because the world has enough men who wait. It needs men who decide. You've mastered yourself or begun to. You've taken dominion over emotion, thought, and discipline. But now we climb higher. We do not stop at personal gain. The man who masters his mind must now ask the deeper question, what will my mastery create beyond me? Because make no mistake, your mind does not just shape your income, it shapes your bloodline. It reshapes what your children believe is possible. It reconstructs what your family, your name, your legacy will represent not for 1 year, but for centuries. The habits you form in silence today echo through generations. That is not poetic exaggeration, that is spiritual law. If you conquer your emotions, your children will inherit peace. If you live in discipline, your children will inherit structure. If you train your thoughts to obey purpose, your grandchildren will inherit a culture of clarity. But if you stay a slave to mood, if you indulge chaos, if you delay your transformation, you do not merely delay your wealth. You rob your lineage. Understand this now. Wealth is not for you alone. Wealth is a testament. It is a signal, a beacon to the world and to your future bloodline that a man once lived who did not bow to fear. You are not just becoming rich for your comfort. You are becoming rich to end the generational cycle of emotional reactivity. You are becoming rich to bury the legacy of passivity. You are becoming rich to declare, the dysfunction ends here, with me. And in this, you are not merely a man. You are a builder of invisible temples, structures of thought, vision, and behavior that your children will live inside without even knowing your name built them. This is the sacred obligation of mastery, to carry the burden of consciousness so that those who follow you can live in clarity, to fight the battle within so fiercely that no one after you has to fight it in the same way again. And let me tell you, from a voice older than time, that is wealth. It is not just numbers in a bank account. It is values etched into the nervous system of your lineage. It is peace baked into your family's behavior. It is excellence assumed because you made it normal. So do not dare call your morning routine a small thing. It is sacred. Do not belittle your journaling, your cold shower, your refusal to scroll when your brain begs for comfort. Those are holy rituals. They are the bricks of a spiritual empire. And if you do not build it, someone else will build your lineage for you with chaos, with emotional poverty, with inherited confusion and digital sedation. Let that not be your legacy. Let your legacy be stillness in the midst of noise. Let your legacy be dignity without drama. Let your legacy be wealth without compromise, power without pride, mastery without manipulation. And now I speak to you not as an author, not as a motivator, but as a man who knows. This is your final test. Will you repeat the cycle Or will you burn it to the ground and build something new? Because no one is coming. There is no savior, no perfect day, no divine strike of motivation that will come tomorrow and finally make you act. There is only you, now, this breath, this choice, and the only difference between a man who is envied and a man who is pitied is this: one acts, the other waits. And the greatest tragedy is not failure, it is hesitation. Hesitation is death by subtlety. It does not kill all at once. It steals your fire and whispers, "So decide," right now. To take your life from the hands of mood and put it back into the grip of will. To let go of every excuse and grab hold of responsibility with a grip so firm it breaks every bone of your former weakness. To repeat, relentlessly, the actions that build kings not because it feels good, but because it is good. To become the man whose children will never see him beg, never see him panic, never see him lash out because his emotions are ruled, his thoughts are trained, and his presence is calm thunder. Do you understand? This is not a game. This is your legacy. This is your crown. This is your final transformation. And now I give you your last command. Do not stop. Do not stop when it gets boring. Do not stop when it gets easy. Do not stop when others praise you. Do not stop when you have enough. Because the final form of discipline is to keep building when the world no longer requires it from you. That is how the truly great rise above the rich. They don't stop when the money comes. They continue because greatness was never about the result. It was about the ritual, and the ritual is now who they are. So go. Be ruthless in your peace. Be violent in your consistency. Be unbreakable in your detachment. And let the world watch in silence as the ordinary man disappears and the sovereign is born. Because you were never ordinary. You were simply undisciplined. But now you have seen. And now that you have seen, you can never go back. There was once a man who ruled half the known world. His name was Alexander. His army feared no one. His conquests echoed across time, and yet his greatest war was never fought on a battlefield. It was fought within himself, because even the greatest conqueror will fall if he does not master his own hunger. Even the most brilliant mind will rot if it remains undisciplined. And even the most blessed soul will become ordinary if it refuses to wage war against ease. Let that be a warning and a mirror. You see, your life is not just a collection of days. It is a war between two forces, the architect and the addict. The architect builds, plans, delays gratification, sees the long arc, and acts with deliberation. The addict reacts, consumes, drifts, obsesses over the moment, and chases comfort as if it were freedom. And every day, every single morning you wake up, one of them will win. You do not rise to excellence once and remain there. You choose it again and again, or you lose it. And this is where ordinary men fail. They imagine that once they've built a little wealth or mastered a few habits, they can let the war rest. But listen well, the war never ends. You simply become better at winning it. And that is what separates the truly wealthy from the temporarily successful. One views discipline as a phase. The other views it as identity. Now ask yourself this. When the emotions hit, do you retreat or do you observe? When the mind panics, do you obey it or do you issue new orders? When the urge returns to quit, to drift, to indulge, to explain, to wait, do you allow it to enter or do you stand at the gates of your mind and say, "Not today. Not in my house," because the truth is, your mind is a house, and every thought you allow inside becomes a tenant. Some build, some destroy, and you, my friend, are the landlord. The rich are not lucky. They are ruthless landlords of the mind. They evict doubt the moment it whispers. They silence complaint before it becomes language. They allow only the thoughts that build nothing else. This is how they remain rich. Not because money doesn't fluctuate, but because their inner world is built on bedrock. It is unmoved by the winds of public opinion or temporary hardship. They remember what the average forgets, that the enemy is not failure, the enemy is softness. History has shown this again and again. Rome collapsed not because of external invasion, but because its discipline decayed from within. Empires fall when the people grow tired of virtue and begin to worship comfort. So it is with men. Your life is your empire. Will it be ruled or will it decay? Only your habits decide. And now I will give you the final, most sacred law, a law not written in books, but carved into the granite of every great soul, the law of inner command. This law states, whatever you do not command will eventually command you. If you do not command your time, distractions will. If you do not command your thoughts, fear will. If you do not command your habits, entropy will. If you do not command your environment, it will shape you into someone unrecognizable. You must therefore live not as a man waiting for signs, but as one who creates them. Every act of intention you make is a signal to the universe. I am no longer available for mediocrity. When you rise before the sun, you are not just waking early, you are announcing your sovereignty. When you turn off your phone and sit with your thoughts, you are not just detoxing, you are reclaiming your mind from the machine. When you say no to what feels good now in service of what matters most, you are not just exercising willpower, you are building the throne of your own kingship. And you must do this daily. No one can do it for you. Not your family, not your mentor, not your religion, not your partner, not even God himself will intervene where you have been given dominion. He gave you free will, and you must decide to use it with absolute, ruthless clarity. Because if you don't, you'll drift back into the noise. And the noise is full of men who once had vision, but abandoned it for pleasure. Full of men who once had fire, but sold it for comfort. Do not join them. Let your name mean something. Let your habits speak volumes. Let your rituals inspire men who haven't even been born yet. Let your enemies watch in silence, wondering how you became unshakable. And when people ask you, what changed, you will not need to explain. You will simply say, I remembered who I was, and I never forgot again. What is destiny? It is not fate, not luck, not prophecy. Destiny is not written for you. It is written by you through repetition. And every act of discipline is a line. Every morning you master, every emotion you override, every doubt you discard, these are brushstrokes on the canvas of your becoming. You want to know the future? Look at what you repeat without fail. Because whatever you do daily becomes who you are permanently. That is why the ancients said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not so he feels, not so he hopes, but so is he. In other words, your destiny is not tied to what you dream about. It is tied to what you do when no one is watching. This is why the 3 habits are sacred. They are not just techniques, they are triggers of transformation. Let us review them not as habits, but as laws of existence. Emotional detachment is the law of power, because no man can build empires while reacting to the noise of peasants. No king rules effectively if his heart is swayed by every whisper. No builder finishes the tower if he stops every time someone throws a stone. Emotional detachment is the space between stimulus and response. It is the throne you build inside your mind, from which you observe without obeying. And every time you choose silence over anger, restraint over impulse, intention over reaction, you reinforce that throne. You become untouchable. And the untouchable man is not feared. He is followed, because he cannot be swayed, bought, shamed, or manipulated. He is trusted, and trust is the currency of kingdoms. 2, mental discipline is the law of structure, because no desire, no vision, no burst of motivation can survive without a framework. Dreams die in the desert of inconsistency. But the disciplined man plants wells. He builds systems. He does not wait for energy, he creates it with ritual. Structure makes greatness repeatable. Without it, genius collapses into chaos. With it, even mediocrity becomes extraordinary over time. So the man who builds a life of discipline is not just achieving, he is architecting a destiny that others will inherit. He will be misunderstood, laughed at, mocked for his rigidity. But when the floods come, it is his house that will still be standing. And then they will ask, how did you do it? And he will smile and say, I didn't skip days, I didn't break promises to myself, I didn't ask how I felt, I followed the blueprint. 3, directed thought is the law of creation, because nothing exists before it exists in the mind. The body does not move unless the mind instructs. The world does not bend unless thought precedes it. So the man who commands his thoughts, and I mean truly commands them, commands everything that follows. He does not merely think positively, he thinks accurately. He does not merely daydream. He orders his thoughts with precision. And when a weak idea arrives, he interrogates it. When fear arises, he tests it. When contradiction appears, he corrects it, because he knows his thoughts are the builders of his legacy. You do not become rich with hustle alone. You become rich by aligning every cell of your being to the exact vibration of clarity, power, and responsibility. These three laws, power, structure, creation, they are not independent. They are symbiotic. Detachment allows discipline to flourish. Discipline allows thought to be organized. Thought allows emotion to be tamed. And around the wheel spins, building momentum, strengthening will, creating wealth in every direction, spiritual, financial, mental, generational. Now pause. Look at your life as it is. Ask yourself, what am I emotionally attached to that weakens me? Where am I inconsistent and therefore untrustworthy to myself? What thought patterns do I repeat that sabotage my greatness? These are not questions to reflect on. These are questions to answer, today, tonight, before another sun rises. Because once you see the truth, you are accountable to it. And when you act on it, when you apply these laws without apology, your world will begin to shift, not with fanfare, not with fireworks, but with evidence. People will look at you differently. Opportunities will appear that once ignored you. You will speak less and say more. You will move less and achieve more. You will fear less and attract more. And when the storm comes, as it always does, you will stand calm, collected, commanding, because you will have become inevitable, not successful, inevitable. Because the man who repeats excellence cannot be stopped. He can only be delayed, and only briefly. And now, the final word, the last truth that must be branded onto your mind with fire. There is no going back. You have seen, you have heard, you have awakened, and the path of ignorance is no longer available to you. You can no longer pretend that your habits don't shape you. You can no longer pretend that comfort is free. You can no longer pretend that greatness is outside of you, because it's not. It's already inside. It was always there, buried beneath distraction, softened by emotion, diluted by inconsistency. But now it's awake. And if you act from that place not once, but every day, without fail, with full resolve, then wealth will follow you, not just in money, but in mind, in spirit, in legacy. You will no longer chase success. You will radiate it. And the world will simply obey. Stand now, in your own mind, as if standing on the threshold of your own kingdom. You do not need to look back. The past is dead. The weakness has already been burned. The failure already forgiven. The old self already buried. What matters now is who commands the throne today. Will it be the man of impulse? The man of excuse? The man who reacts, delays, scrolls, complains, breaks his own word, forgets his own worth? Or will it be the man of fire? The man of ritual? The man who says, no matter how I feel, I rise because rising is what I do. The choice is not metaphorical. It is biological, psychological, absolute. And it begins with the first act of the day. Not tomorrow, not when life calms down, not when motivation returns, but now because you said so. So here is your command. Let these words not be a speech you heard. Let them be a contract you signed. Write this in your journal. Etch it in your soul. Speak it every dawn until the gods themselves hear it and move the universe accordingly. I will master my emotions before they master me. I will build my discipline before I need it. I will train my thoughts before they betray me. I will act when I do not feel like it. I will repeat what builds me. I will remove what weakens me. I will no longer beg reality to be easier. I will become stronger. I will not seek praise. I will earn power. I will not wish for greatness. I will practice it daily. I will be the first in my bloodline to master self. I will be the last to make excuses. I will walk like a king before the crown arrives. I will never again be ordinary, because I now command my inner world, and he who commands within rules without. Let no man convince you otherwise. Let no setback delay your march. Let no relationship, no resection, no mistake, no relapse shake your certainty. You do not owe your past anything. You owe your future everything. And your future begins now not in a plan, but in a practice. 3 things, done daily, with fire, with discipline, with unwavering defiance against mediocrity. Detach from emotion. Execute with discipline. Direct your thought. And repeat, and repeat, and repeat, until your very presence becomes a force, until your habits become legend, until your family forgets what weakness ever looked like, until your name no longer means man but monument. And when they ask, how did he do it? Let them answer themselves. He mastered the 3 habits no one else could repeat. He rose when others slept. He ruled when others reacted. He trained himself in silence until he no longer needed to speak. He was not just rich in gold, he was rich in will. Now go. Wake tomorrow with command in your chest. Speak like a man who remembers who he is. Walk like a man who forgot how to beg. Live like a man who builds forever, one day at a time. This is not motivation. This is war. And you've already won it if you never stop showing up. Riches belong to the man who rules himself. And now that man is you.